Welcome back to the Naked Woman podcast. I'm your host, Jemma Louise Finch. Today's episode is on beauty. And I share how, through my time at the nudist beach, I have learned to see beauty in an entirely different way. A beauty that goes beyond physical appearances. A beauty that is rooted in truth, in love, in harmony. So join me today where we discover what it truly means to find beauty in our nakedness. So let's jump back into the story of getting naked. So today's episode, I don't have a specific story to share like I have in the other episodes. And what I've come to realize, particularly with this topic of beauty, is that this has been a theme that has been present throughout my 3-year journey of going to the nudist beach. And there is one particular visit that this theme really stood out, and I'm going to kind of touch on that as we get into the episode. But there is something that's really been beautiful for me to see, actually, is in reflecting on this episode and preparing for it, is how much this theme of beauty has really weaved itself through every visit, and even as I speak to you today, how much it has showed me. So I'm really excited to share this topic with you. So I want to start by asking you this question. And the question is, what is beauty for you? And so I'll share what beauty was for me before I went to the beach, and I'll share what it is for me now after the beach. So I can very much reflect that before I went to that beach, my idea, my perceptions on beauty were very superficial. It was very much focused on the physical appearance of people and myself. And I can see how beauty to me was very externalized and very based on materialistic things. And so typically, for me, I would see beauty in a nice dress, doing my hair nice makeup, wearing nice clothes. And so I can see how for me, beauty was very much perceived through the very physical lens. And whilst I truly believe there's nothing wrong in finding beauty in the physical appearance of things, I can really see how it was very superficial. There was no depth to it. There wasn't any layers, and it was very based on the external world and not at all related to the inner world. And so I can really see how through that lens of seeing beauty just through my eyes, that it, for me, created a lot of emphasis on my physical appearance, and particularly on making sure that I always looked presentable. I always remember this saying when I was younger, and it was from my mother, and she would always say, "You can't go out the house without a little bit of mascara and lipstick on, Gemma." And so for me, in order to feel accepted by society, I had this view that my physical appearance mattered, in particularly how I looked, how I dressed, and my size. And I can see how I had such a strong belief around presenting myself in a certain way in order to look perfect, in order to be accepted, and in order to feel worthy. I would have people say to me, "You look very beautiful today, Gemma." And I can really see how, in reflection, I found those words really hard to perceive, because I never felt beautiful. And I actually remember it used to really frustrate me and annoy me when people used to say, "You're so beautiful, Gemma," because I remember thinking, but then why don't I feel beautiful? And I think for me, in reflection, that has been why for me beauty has always felt so superficial. Like I never was able to bring it in and see the depth of beauty, because up until the nudist beach, my entire inner world did not feel beautiful. And I can really see how I've overcompensated in the past on the physical appearance and the external expression of beauty to try to feel worthy, to try to feel beautiful. But of course, I never truly did. As I've mentioned, one of the biggest things that I've come to realize around beauty and how I perceive beauty, particularly internally, was this association with my weight and with my size. And I can remember from a very young age, particularly from my mother and my social groups and society in general, being very conditioned to believe that I had to be a certain size in order to feel and be beautiful. And has always been such a huge insecurity with me. And I can remember that very first time I went to the beach, how much insecurity I held around my weight and people really seeing my physical body in regards to this unworthiness around my size. And what was really interesting this year when I went to the nudist beach was that I could start to feel some of those stories reappear. I could start to feel that insecurity around my weight was as I was going to the nudist beach. And I was like, well, that's really interesting because actually that hasn't been present over the last 2 years. And so getting curious as to why those thoughts were there, I realized it was because the very first time that I went to the nudist beach back in 2022, I was 2 sizes smaller than I am now. Back then, I was training for a marathon, I was going to the gym a lot, and I was in a very different shape than I am now. And as I said, this was creating a lot of anxiety as I was leading up to visiting the beach. But what was really interesting is that when I got to the beach, I experienced the complete opposite. When I got to the beach and I sat on my towel, I felt nothing but love and joy in my body and for myself. And in that moment, there was no hesitation in taking my bikini off. And I realized, my physical weight and my size does not matter. And I can see so clearly how I had perceived up until that point my beauty with my physical body. And from that moment on, I realized how beauty goes so much deeper. Because inside my inner world, I have created love. I can see so clearly now how the version of me who may have been a size 8 3 years ago to the external world would have been deemed beautiful. But my inner world was full of shame and rejection and fear. And over the last 3 years of visiting that beach and doing the personal development work, I have met that shame. I've met the parts of me that rejected myself. I have faced that fear. And in those places, I have brought love. And it is that when I sat on that beach this year, that love that shone through. And it really surprised me because I truly believed up until that point that beauty is found through my physical body. I always thought, even when I was a size 8, well, I'll be even more beautiful when I'm a size 6. It doesn't work like that. I realized that I found beauty through the mind, not the body, through allowing myself to see things in a different way, for allowing my mind to let go of old beliefs and old patterns and old thoughts, for allowing my mind to open and to deepen so I can come home to my body and see the beauty in it. And so I realized that true beauty comes from within, from when at last we bring love to all the unloved places within us. And I can really see how, because I didn't have the perception to see the beauty within me, I couldn't see it in others. I could only see another person's beauty in their physical appearance. And one of the beautiful gifts that I have come to realize of going to this beach is how I have learned to see beauty beyond the physical appearances of others. And I remember one visit in particular where I remember this overwhelming sense of beauty in the surroundings, in the sand, in the sea with the sun shining on it, in the beautiful cliffs that surround Studland. And I remember I could see it so clearly, and it was just this utter appreciation of what had been there all along, but I hadn't seen it up into that visit. And I remember thinking, why have I not seen this beauty before? Like, this place is just so beautiful. Yet I hadn't really perceived its beauty before. And I think, again, it's this realization of I needed to see the beauty within me. I needed to see the depth and the truth of beauty within me to truly then see past the physical appearance in the external. And one of the things that I remember really clearly from that visit was seeing the beauty in a woman's body, and not only in the physical appearance of seeing women who were all different shapes and different ages, but seeing past their physical appearance and really seeing the essence of who they were. And I remember thinking, oh God, these women are so beautiful. There's a radiance to them. There's a light that I can see in them. And I remember thinking, how have I not seen this before in people? How have I not been able to perceive someone's depth of beauty just in their beingness? And as I've always shared, that I think this is the beautiful thing about going to that naked beach, is that you just cannot hide who you are when you are naked. And when you are naked, you have nothing but who you are shining. And that radiance of love is so easy to be perceived and to be known when you're not worried about, does your hair look nice? Am I wearing the right dress? Is my makeup nice? It's just, it brings you back to, this is who I am. And it really was a beautiful moment for me to see other women so embodied in their body, in their love, in their self-expression, in their inner power, and to see that being radiated out. Because I hadn't seen it, I hadn't experienced it, I hadn't witnessed it. And it just brought home this deeper meaning, this deeper depth of what beauty truly is, and how beauty truly does come from that inner radiance, that inner part of us. When we have had the courage to really come in and meet all parts of ourselves, and to really sit and know us and know who we are, and to have compassion and to have love for those parts of us that up until that point we may not have been aware of. And I remember this conversation I had with this gentleman, and it was on the same visit where the theme of beauty was really speaking loud to me. And it was with a gentleman, and maybe in his early 70s. He came over and he asked if he can sit down, and instantly I was like, yes, I felt his genuineness and his love and his pure intention so easily, and there was no hesitation in me saying yes. And we had a beautiful conversation. He was telling me all about how he had been going to the beach for many years, I think it was like 30 years, and how he was obviously a regular at this beach, and it had become part of his life, and how, to him the beach meant so much. And I remember listening to him, and I became aware of the thought that was like, this should be weird. Like, this should be weird, because you're naked, he's naked, he's 70, you're 30, but it's not. And I could just see the beauty in this man, in the beauty in his passion, the beauty in his love for this beach, and how he was just sharing that, and the radiance of this man's being. It was just so beautiful. And he was a lovely guy. He was being very father-like to me, and was telling me, if I get any trouble on the beach, to come find him and he'll sort it out. So he was a really lovely guy. But I really remember that conversation, because, as I said, from what it looked like, it should have been weird, and it wasn't. It was beautiful. And it really showed me when I can look past the physical appearance, when I can really see a person's essence. I can really feel their love. I could really see this man's beauty shining through his light, through his spirit, through his words. And it just showed me how much beauty there is in life. And it really showed me how easily I have missed beauty. I heard this the other day, and for me it really resonated, and it was, beauty is the radiance of truth made visible. And for me, that really felt so true, because me sharing my experience through the podcast has really been about coming home to the truth that's within me, letting go of the lies that say I'm not worthy because I'm not a certain shape or size. letting go of all that old conditioning that keeps me stuck and limited and playing small, and to come home to this truth of who I am, and to be authentic in my expression, authentic in the words I share, and to remember that love is present within me always. And I can always choose to be love and reflect it, no matter what size I am. And as I've shared, one of the biggest intentions behind creating this podcast has been to bring the magic that I feel at that beach home with me. Whenever I've gone to that beach over the last 3 years, it's like I am a different person. Joy that I feel, how alive I feel, how much love and bliss that I feel when I go to that beach. It really feels like I am somebody else in a far, far away place. And as I said, I really was like, I want to bring this home with me. I want to be able to integrate my experiences into my everyday mundane life. And one of the realizations that I've had when I was preparing for this episode is seeing the beauty in my everyday life, or how I actually haven't perceived the beauty in my everyday life, and particularly in my work. So I spent the last 15 years working with dogs. And I'm sure as anybody else who works with dogs can tell you that going into a kennel of 9 puppies first thing in the morning is not beautiful. It is not glamorous, and you certainly do not come out of that kennel feeling beautiful. If anything, you come out of that kennel going, where is a shower? I need it quick because I stink and I am covered in God knows what. And so for me, if you had you asked me, is my job beautiful? I would have said no, because I'm out in all weather, getting covered in dog hair, dog saliva, and God knows what else. Like, it's not a glamorous job. And in fact, in relation to work, I would have said my sister's job is beautiful. You know, she works in London. She's in the corporate world. She goes out to fancy lunches. She wears nice clothes. She has her hair and makeup nice. And I would have perceived that as, well, that's beautiful. But I realized that that perception comes from when I believed that beauty was only seen through the physical appearance. And in reflecting on beauty, I realized I don't believe that to be true. For me, I have learned that true beauty is rooted in love. And so have I experienced love in my job? Yes. That is one thing that I have experienced every single day in my job. And I was like, wow, how much beauty is there actually in my job? And I honestly, I can feel myself getting emotional because I have spent the last 15 years perceiving that there's no beauty in my job. And to sit here now with the realization and knowingness, and to be able to feel the love that's been present in every moment of my job. Love in the picking up of a cute little puppy and getting to have sneaky cuddles when you're supposed to actually be working, and love in training the dog and seeing it go out and working with their recipient. What a gift to see the beauty in my job, in my life. I am so grateful to have had this realization, to see the depth of beauty in my life, and to realize where I wasn't aware of this, and to really see it and feel it, and to honor the love that that job has and still does bring me. And another area that I want to share and speak on in relation to beauty is in my realization around, finding that beauty in conversations with people. And I've certainly come to realize this in one of my dear friends. So I have volunteered with Age UK Friendship Surface, and for the last 2 years I have cultivated a beautiful relationship with a lady. And although I have never met this lady face to face, and I never will, I can reflect and feel the amount of love and beauty in our weekly conversations. And I truly look forward to our conversations every week because they bring me so much love, they bring me so much joy. And what those conversations have taught me around beauty is that I don't need to see through my eyes to know and feel beauty. I can feel it in her words. I can feel it in her soul. I can feel it in her heart. Yet I've never seen her physically. But I don't need to. Where there is love, there is beauty. And I can see the beauty in our conversations. So I ask you again, what is beauty to you? And what if you could see it in the people, in the places, and in you that you had perceived it to be absent? And so I want to leave us on one final comment. And it's from a quote that I read in a book a few years ago. And as when I was preparing for this episode, it popped back in. And so I would love to share it with you. And it's from a book called The Magdalene Manuscript by Tony Caron and Judy Shaw. And it reads, "What creates the beauty of our being is the inner transformation that we have gone through." Thank you for joining me on today's episode. If this story has resonated, I would love to hear. You can message me directly or on Instagram at The Naked Woman Podcast. Join me next time where we continue the story of getting naked here on The Naked Woman Podcast.